Ukraine did not want this war, and we propose everything, every compromise, even military base.
Ukraine is the first country in the world who developed 7 methodologies. We developed separate methodologies how we can calculate each crime caused by Russia.
Historically, Ukrainians were very brave and professional warriors.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Centre and NGO Euro-Atlantic Course. And I'm your host, Matt Wickham. In this episode, we are joined by Valeriy Chaly, former Ukrainian Ambassador to the United States and co-founder of UCMC, and Yevhen Federenko, Deputy Minister of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources of Ukraine. They delve into Ukraine's years of attempts of peace with Russia, including the giving up of nuclear weapons and offering Russian military bases to avoid escalation, yet it all fell on deaf ears. Fedorenko also sheds light on the ecological impact of Russia's war, particularly in the Black Sea, underscoring the dire consequences of Russia's military activities on Ukraine's biodiversity. If you want to learn more about this subject, please continue watching this video, and don't forget to press subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. Chaly first discusses a past treaty between Russia and Ukraine, in which Ukraine did all it can to create peace between the two countries. Let's listen to more.
I remember when I was in a group of assistants to the president of Ukraine, we prepared, and I support that a lot, signing with Russia a special treaty on friendship, cooperation, 1997. Even changes in our constitution, and allow Russians to have a Black Sea Fleet, Navy base in our territory. As a result of the previous living together as one country, Soviet Union. We make many such steps. We have been pushing from the United States primarily to give to Russia our nuclear weapons. In that period, in the beginning of 90s, we have had third, not sometimes make potential, but if we calculate the quantity of these missile heads, so we've been in that time in the third position in the world. And so we agreed, even gave all our nuclear missiles, nuclear heads, strategic bombers, everything. You ask me why. First of all, the country in that time faced some other problems. We have had Chernobyl, this disaster, this Chernobyl nuclear plant. So Ukrainians don't want to have anything with nuclear. And it's one reason. And another one that will be pushed by the United States. And Mr. Clinton, President of the United States, months ago, mentioned that it was a mistake that he pushing Ukraine.
Chaly highlights Zelensky's efforts to avert war, but with 200,000 troops at the border, it was obvious that the lie of training was an actual preparation for war. Let's listen to more.
2 years ago, they opened full-scale war. Our leadership, President Zelensky, and our diplomacy make many attempts how to avoid that. They understand there's almost 200,000 troops around the borders. This is definitely not about exercises, it's about preparation. Russia, in that period, also agreed with neighboring Belarus, it's neighbor of Ukraine, neighbor of Russia, to replace some ammunition and I would say they create new military base and territory of Belarus, named that special training centers. And now, not now, from the beginning, the full-scale invasion from these training centers, flight MiG-31 attacking us. So, unfortunately, we understood that we can avoid avoid this aggressive attempts attacking us. But once again, our leadership probably make mistake. I did not, because in that period, I insisted on my conversation with my colleagues in presidential administration, on presidential office, or Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense. I knew absolutely this. Unfortunately, if rifle on the wall, this rifle will shoot, and this was exactly the time that Russian prepare this attack. Why in detail say about it? Because Ukraine did not want this war, and we proposed everything, every compromise, even military base, everything. And unfortunately, they began attacking us, and not to bring you through every military operation, something like that, but finally our people did something that many experts and even intelligence in the war can't even predict. This we will be ready to fight against, according to the some index, second time in the world. But this will demonstrate this motivation of the people, patriotism, and especially if you have additional tools like a Javelin anti-tank missile and Stinger from very beginning, it's sometimes help you destroy even hundreds of tanks because of people, Ukrainian people. Historically, Ukrainians were very brave and professional warriors. Even in the Soviet period, the most of professionals on the level of sergeant and the level of high officers is Ukrainians. So historically, we are a nation in such a strategic situation between two NATO and Russia-led military blocs. So frankly, we are very difficult position between two, like a gray zone or buffer zone. And by the way, this was one of the problem and one of the argument why Russians and Putin go in our territory, because we do not belong to any collective security and defense structure.
Fedorenko discusses a new institution in the Netherlands, separate from The Hague, focused on documenting Russia's actions that have caused damage. Additionally, he tells how Ukraine has pioneered 7 methodologies to quantify Russia's crimes. Let's find out more.
There was a new body created, International Registry of Losses. That is a separate body. That is, it's not just a table or something like that. That's a body, institution that was created, if I'm not mistaken, on the territory of the Netherlands. So International Court in Hague. However, it's not related to court as of now. That is the body that starts its work, and the main task of that body is to collect and to document all the cases where some damage was caused. And there is a separate track, damage to environment. And now Ukraine is awaiting some clear recommendations, what kind of evidence base they need and what level of evidence do they need in order for the crimes that were caused against Ukrainian environment were included to that registry. And further on, through international court, Ukraine will have the right to just send a claim and ask for repayment of losses, because you've seen that the amount of money is huge, and the analogs in the world history regarding even claims for such huge amounts or some penalties, there are no analogies. There's just one case known when Iraq and Kuwait in the beginning of the 90s, and there was a claim as if losses for or damage for environment, but it was not about that. It was about the oil that they've lost and the infrastructure that was destructed because that oil was mined. So the world has no precedence of such penalties for environment damage. So Ukraine is the first country in the world who developed 7 methodologies. We developed separate methodologies how we can calculate each crime caused by Russia, and how can we assess the damage in money equivalent? So all these cases have to be included to this registry of damage that has to be verified by relevant international institutions, and for us to understand what kind of evidence Ukraine has to provide in order for them to be taken to international court later on, and we take this penalty.
Fedorenko highlights Ukraine's significance due to its vast territory in Europe and Russia's threat to multiple European countries. Additionally, as the Deputy Minister of the Environment, he emphasizes the ecological impact, particularly in the Black Sea, where Russian mining activities and Russian military operations are affecting biodiversity. Let's listen to more.
Ukraine, in the territory, is the biggest country in Europe. That is, in such a manner, Russia is threatening the huge number of territories of Europe. And there is a threat that they won't have access to drinking water. And we are not just talking about huge cities. We are talking about small towns or settlements. And Russia, they do not differentiate between military objects and civil objects. And we have very negative picture here when water objects, rivers, as we are talking here. And you know that in addition to rivers, Ukraine has two seas, that is Azov Sea and Black Sea. And we have to pay attention to that as well. Again, these are not just internal seas of our country, because you know that many countries, sometimes they are some countries, they are in the zone of the Black Sea basin. And Ukrainian rivers are falling into Black or Azov Sea. And we see that this negative impact is spread. And first of all, we have to say that our rivers, after shellings, after bombs, after active hostilities, they are damaged. They are polluted, first of all, with dangerous substances. And it is higher than the norm a few times, like heavy metals. Again, it is higher than the norm a few times. That is due to constant shellings. We know that it is so. We know that huge amount of chemicals. Well, we are documenting that. I mean, we are calculating that in our, we are taking that into account in our calculations when we are talking about damage to water objects. I can even name the number that we have as of today when we are talking about the damage to water objects. The harm to water objects as of today due to pollution, according to our calculations, is more than 1.5 billion euros. That is, we understand that Ukraine has a developed network of water objects, rivers, and thus this is a colossal number. And we know that these water objects have a huge amount of biodiversity. And again, here, if we are talking about the scale of Russian aggression and impact to water objects, I would like to highlight and separately the issue of the Black Sea. The Black Sea, the huge part of it is mined by Russia, and that is a fact proved not just by Ukraine, but we all know that perfectly. And such countries as Bulgaria, Romania, for example, who have access to the sea, we all understand that. And we understand this situation with a huge amount of population of dolphins, and they are dying because they live in the Black Sea, and we only have direct consequences of active hostilities and negative impact from sonars, Russian military ships, and so on. More than 600 dolphins were found on the beach, dead dolphins. But according to experts, this number might be 10 times higher. Like the real picture might be 10 times higher.
Next, we hear from Volodymyr Kuzio, Deputy Minister of the Economy of Ukraine, discussing the fluctuations in Ukraine's economy post full-scale invasion and how the substantial support from partners and G7 countries enables the Ukrainian government to function effectively. Let's listen.
In 2023, the Ukrainian economy was shrinking down by 30%. So and it was terrible. actually in 2022. And in 2023, keeping the resilient, we have the growth around 5%. You might like ask me why, and of course the first engine is like the government spending on defense industry, on providing salary for our armed force, and of course the still having the economy running, right. That's one side. Why? Because our G7 countries and G20 countries support us a lot in terms of the direct budget deficit. So they provided lots of funding for covering social needs. So, and therefore the Ukrainian government has the opportunity to spend the money for socials, right? What we as the government collecting in forms of taxes, in 100% we use it for defense and for the Ukrainian armed forces. So that's just understanding that international community support us in full for the social needs, and we like inside the country use our taxes and other revenues for defending the country. With regards to the the inflation rate, we have the same. Comparing 2022, the level was around 25% of the inflation. Now we have one-digit inflation. That's also great. Why? Because it allows the the National Bank of Ukraine to decrease the rates, right, and to have the more cheaper, I would say, funding for our small medium businesses.
You've been watching the special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euro-Atlantic Course, dedicated to the Russian-Ukrainian war, Ukraine in Flames. In the description of this video, you can find more information on how you can help Ukraine fight Russian aggression. If you find our work useful, please like and share this video. Slava Ukraini!